From a workshop in Bordeaux to Ultimate Fields worldwide, Force Ultimate creates custom gear with care. Locally made, low impact, built to perform. No outsourcing, no shortcuts, every piece crafted in-house by skilled artisans. Built to withstand every dive and sprint, this gear is as tough as your game. Your sport, your team, your Force. Why choose Force? Exceptional quality, eco-friendly production, and every kit is designed with your team's identity in mind. Force Ultimate, built to perform, made to last. Gear up now at forceultimate.com.
Welcome to Trnava, Slovakia for the European Youth Ultimate Championship.
There was no ad going on.
We have a matchup in the women's division.
Okay, thank you.
In front of us. It is French versus the Czech Republic.
Yes.
Henry on the call alongside John Doherty.
No.
How you feel about
No, wait on my cue. You can switch now to commentator byline.
The majority of this group is somewhat decided. Italy already have topped the group. They beat France yesterday. So for the Italians, this is a game where they're going to probably be looking to practice some stuff.
No, keep it open.
Coach, and they said that they're looking
No graphics now.
Looking to just improve in this game and maybe get some time for some younger players. And for the Czechs, even if they were to win this, it would
Take away the sound from the commentators. They don't want to hear you.
Results in the group go their way also, and I'm not even entirely sure if they would want that. I think perhaps the Czechs would be okay where they are right now,
Right,
and
so
just having a competitive game here and getting some
no
good
more
reps in
graphics.
before
We're
potential
going direct
quarters
to
later.
the
So
game.
again,
You can start the clock now.
it's a bit of an interesting game, but it's two of the best teams.
No, yeah. Yeah,
let's see
good.
how it
Perfect.
starts, and then maybe we'll start to jump to some assumptions about what teams are really trying to do.
Well, an opportunity for folks to make sure that everybody on the roster
Please
is
take
getting
away
reps.
the
Of course,
sound
there
on
is
the commentators. The commentators will
variant
not
of experience
They
across
do
these
not want to hear
athletes.
the van.
Many returners from the Italian women's side that got the way to final in Padova in 23, and of course those bronze medals from the World Junior Championships in Birmingham. Of course, the story of that tournament in the women's division was the French women taking down the giants of the big USA. Scintillating final. If you've not watched that one already, we recommend that you do so. But it is going to be the Czech Republic starting on offense, and of course watch out for Dominika Chadova, who got plenty of action in our previous showcase games in that number 36. An accepted foul though from the Italian zone.
Okay, Andy, can you hear me? Andy, can you hear me?
Things are staying pretty static. It's difficult to get around this overloaded front set. We know that the Czech women have the throwing chops to hit the shoulders. We've seen that before. And certainly they don't want to tire themselves out with playing
Andy,
too much.
can you hear me?
Shekova finds that one through to Hadova. And Babakova trying to go for the give-go, but don't make too much in way of yardage. Nice flow laterally.
Andrew,
And
please
this, of
respond.
course, is the style we're used to seeing out of the Czech Republic's female teams, most notably East Bloc even. 3SB known for their shooters. Hammer over the top for Hadova. Silky smooth affair. They think about it, nice one up line. Bounce into the air and a bop for the catch. Nice slicer, breaking the mark. Oh, that's going to be a bit low, and it is indeed going to hit the turf after really patient offense. The first look at a turnover. Up line, nice grab. Those back feet just about in bads for Martinini. Machino now. Czech women just playing straight match-up defense. Nice inside find. As Martinini and the leader into space. Up line, that's just going to escape the grasp. Couple of throws not quite hitting the bread baskets for the Italians, even though they are grinding themselves open with the legs.
I can't hear you, and you don't respond.
Hadova. Nice quick, crisp disc movement. Love to see those hammers coming out. We do have a different directionality on the wind though, and it's going to make that one very easy pickings for Lisa Rubino.
But I can hear you. I cannot hear you.
Yeah, they didn't really stop there for a minute or two. I think that's the longest I've been able to keep my mouth closed so far this tournament. So
that's good. No, I hear you.
Couple of messy turns to start the tournament, to start the game this morning.
Do you still hear me now?
Nice run.
Andy, do you hear me?
Great read of the play from Hurtova. Now Shekova to get us started, of course. One of 3 Shekova siblings on this Czech Republic side.
I saw the 4th one yesterday on a field side with their father throwing the disc. I believe it's the 4th one anyway. So
they're not trying hard enough. You know, you need to have 7 siblings.
Andrew,
so you
can you hear me?
All together. But that's a nice find in the end zone, and the Czechs unlock the first point of the game. But that took quite a while, Doc.
Yeah, like I said, I think this is a game where maybe both teams won't always have what you would say maybe is their like power lines on for O or whatever. Even talking to the Czech coach before the game yesterday, he said in their Germany game, a lot of people maybe that would be considered maybe somewhat slightly lower down, like in terms of the raw talent on the roster, ended up playing more in some of the games because they're very much trusting the kind of a systems approach where in certain situations, if you're just the best person at this role, you're going to go in more often. So I think for the Czechs, I think if I was the Czech coach, how I would look at this game is it's an opportunity to try and actually get a win against one of these teams that they haven't been able to beat maybe in recent seasons. And I think yesterday he said against Belgium on Universe Point, it wasn't necessarily so important for them to win it. And I think he said his initial hope was that they'd be able to get some of their youngest players on the line to put them in that situation and say, hey, try and go out there and win a game on Universe Point. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And he said it was a bit unfortunate that some of the players maybe weren't fully sure of themselves to go on the line. And it's something I've noticed a bit with some of the younger Czech players. Sometimes they aren't always fully sure of themselves. And I think as a coach, I think he's definitely doing this a long time. So I'm sure by the time it really counts, he can get those players on the line. But it was just a bit interesting to hear that they felt a bit unsure doing it in that one. So I think getting a win here or a good game and showing they can compete with these teams, that could be something that could unlock something for some of these younger players in future rounds of this in tournament when maybe it matters more that they've shown that they can beat one of these teams and compete with them, because so far they've lost by a couple of points to France, which obviously it was a close game, but it's still a loss. And then to lose to Belgium on Universe in a game where I believe they were trying to win, but it wasn't such an important win. I think they'd like to just get one win against one of these teams to show they can do it. But
well, of course, that's one of the wonderful things about U20s is it does develop athletes, gives them real proper full roles to take. They might not get on their club teams, but that's a brilliant goal. Full layout for Agata Benzi. And that's a really quick offensive point for the Italian O-line. Quite a contrast to the multi-turnover point before.
Yeah, even in the last game for Italy, don't think potentially a result that teams might have been able to predict the winner, but I don't think anyone could have predicted the margin of victory. I believe they beat France by potentially, I think it was 8 or 9 points. And I was kind of half watching that game and half watching the Czech Republic Belgium game. I was just high up on the stands watching both the games, and it was a bit crazy because it just seemed like the French had no real answers for the Italians yesterday in that game. And again, maybe both these teams, or the Italian and the French, maybe they feel they're in a good position to meet again in the final, and perhaps it was more of a feeling out game, but I didn't really get that impression. I could see some slight frustration from some of the French players, and even if you decide you're going to try things and do all sorts of like experiments, to lose by that much, it's very hard for that to happen, and for you to say we can just turn that around next game, it's not a big deal. So I would imagine I would have to change my initial predictions in maybe more than one division, where I thought perhaps based on recent season that maybe it was going to be a clean sweep for the French, and now I'm like, well, maybe I haven't seen the men's team play yet, but I've seen the other two teams look like they can easily be beaten, and they have been beaten. So.
Well, I think that's one of the difficult things about any kind of junior tournament seeding is that the rosters do change, of course, just the nature of time itself. She's a cruel mistress. She doesn't wait for anyone to play multiple seasons. So you do get a high roster turnover, but of course, it's all about how you build the cohesion. And as we talked about with the youngsters from the Czech team being put on that universe point line yesterday, how you give those meaningful moments to the young stars of the future. Well, the turnover on the goal line produced by the Italian zone once again. The Czechs finding a little bit of difficulty with that puzzle. Spinning around on the line. Mani, just the softest of passes. Novelli pops back. And a nice one, just shy. Oh, and that spills out of the lap. Too much attack from the legs for Elisa Mani, sorry. And it's going to be back to set the zone. Czechs finding love, of course, with these overheads. It is a very still and calm, pleasant day for ultimate comparative to yesterday afternoon. But that one's a too far up line, and Novelli snaffles it up. Little travel, as that one will come back. Ezio Martinini, the Rimini player, just taking control of this point, looking to get it done on the second time at asking. Slide through to Capello. He's got the long locks underneath that cap. Nice slicer inside. Pironi on a slightly high stall, but Martinini provides the answer. Oh, and then a lofty dish over the head and into the breadbasket of that Laura Briolini.
Yeah, again, Czechs have a couple of chances there. A slight miscommunication on one of the deep throws. I think the cutter had started to come back under as the disc was thrown. And
Italia too.
The Italians, and Italian defenses look good. I know they've had 2 break opportunities. The first one they just slightly overthrew it in the end zone. Another one, I think the player almost kicked it up and caught it. So the Italians looking, again, given perhaps the lack of high intensity coming into the game, the Italians looking very calm, and I think something they can say is they've absolutely nothing to lose in this game. Like nothing can change for them except perhaps who they might play in later rounds. But whether they win or lose, they're going to be the top seeded team. And sometimes coming into a game like this with absolutely no pressure, obviously the players can relax a bit more. But it's interesting to see how it'll affect the younger players, knowing that some of them might also feel like they're playing for game time in some sense. So it's not just a case of it doesn't really matter what happens. If you're putting on the younger players, it's a chance for the coaches as well to see, hey, who could we maybe count on later if someone else isn't delivering. So as much as I'm saying that maybe the coaches mightn't be too worried about this game, there's going to be a lot of players out there hoping that this is a chance for them to show something, and obviously to show what they can do on a stream. I'm sure they have lots of family members watching, and even though all the games are streamed, I know myself, if I was here and it's like, the game with the comms is just a little different. It's just a little more excited. You just want to make that extra big play if you can get a chance. So again, all these players, just every rep counts, and this is the perfect chance for them to improve for later and to show what they're capable of doing also.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like having commentary to say that was really good, and that was a brilliant piece of handiwork from Arianna Ascari, getting the block in the jaws of the zone, and now the Italians quickly cooking it towards that front line, and they do indeed find a very swift one, and it's bookends for Ascari.
Yeah, and again, Italians just get the job done there, move it nice and quick, and I guess for them, every time they're doing this, it's great. I think the Italians have already shown, like I've said, they crushed the French yesterday. They don't have really much to prove in this game.
Score Italia 3.
And as I was saying, for the Czechs, I think it's an opportunity to show that they can compete. And I maybe would say I don't know if they'll end up listening back to it, but obviously it'll be it will have happened by then. But should they end up having a bit of a tough loss here, like it's going at the moment, it's hard to know if it might do more harm than good for the confidence, knowing that they were playing against a team that necessarily didn't have to go for the win, and they're 3-1 down. But it is early days yet, and we saw them play much better yesterday, and they've been a bit unlucky with 1 or 2 of the turns, so it's early days yet.
Well, I think it is one of those things, John, where the potential for... Sorry, brain just having a little reset moment there. In terms of the concept of playing a soft game in a championship, it's that thing of, it's a little bit counterintuitive to the preparation that you've put in the weeks preceding the tournament. I think the Italians are doing a good job. I think they're looking to try and make sure that they're very intentional with the disc. They're punching their breaks in quite quickly, because of course that's one of the things that is very difficult to do, is keeping the offensive intensity when you know you have an opponent that you're able to turn over quite frequently. So a hammer straight out of the blocks, and you can see the read there straight over the head of Vashova. Not much you could do about that. Simonazzi with the pickup. Quickly moving to Martinini. One of the marshals of this Italian women's program. Mani now. That inside just about makes the hands around it to Scapello, and then straight to Martinini. Slips through a quick pass. I'm not sure exactly what the option was there. I think maybe Rubino. But a little bit messy. Shekova throws into the own end zone. Always calmly confident. Harova, nice find. Deep stretching it. Great run from Kaderova to keep things busy, as that one is reeled in by Vashova. On the run, over the goal line, nearly, oh my goodness, well, sits on her own ankle. Bozrajka. Things slowing all the way down. Harova, big backhand break, and that is very pretty throwing style into the lap of Vashova.
Yeah, much needed one there. Again, like we said, it's a bit of a slow start, a couple of turns, but that looked a lot better, especially with the end row throw. Maybe the hammers still need a little bit of work, but good score for them to get on the board. And that's, like we said, there's basically no win, but that one's the slightly upwind one. So again, maybe slightly easier chance of getting a break here now. And one little thing on this game being somewhat of a, not insignificant isn't the right word, but there's a in the other game in the women's division, Belgium and Germany are currently playing, and they're going to have a round off, and then they're almost certainly going to play again in a quarter-final. So looking at the schedule last night, I was thinking there's a lot of games where I'm like, what would you even do going into games like that? The women's division obviously a bit smaller this year, so it gives more opportunity to have more games where you play the same team twice, but to do 2 games in a row is a pretty funny one.
Well, I think, to be honest, you've got to expect it if you're coaching one of these women's teams. I mean, 7 was the number we had in the women's division back in 23 in Padova. So it's one of those things where it's going to happen. You're going to have to play the same team twice. And the back-to-backs, I think you kind of maybe see it as 4 quarters of the same game, potentially, especially because, of course, it's not going to change the proceedings too much, as you say. It looks pretty locked in that they're going to go back to back. Obviously, results pending of the rest of the women's division. So you get a little wiggle there from Harova.
Yeah, they should do an aggregate game. I was saying that, just make it 2 long games and say best overall score wins. That'd be how you get an intense game.
Well, I mean, I think it's that thing of staying warm and just again, as I would say with this Italian side, it's just about saying, okay, how much can we use this game to polish things off? And that is a great recovery. Who else but Ascari coming underneath and rescuing the disc? And they find the magic in the end zone in pretty fine Fettel too. Briolini with the goal.
Yeah, really quick one. Just one slight bit of luck on one of the throws. The Czech players unable to get to it, and then the Italians finishing it off. Looking pretty effective so far. A couple of little errors, but based on the starts of first games so far this week,
4-2.
Been a pretty decent start for the Italians. Again, tricky to get used to the conditions every day, but I guess anyone who was playing yesterday, they're not going to struggle too much with the conditions today after that.
Well, that's 2 clean holds for the Italians versus none so far for the Czech Republic. So plenty of pressure being put on by the team in blue.
Yeah, and in the other one, it's the same scoreline as well. It's Belgium-Germany, so as it stands, the seedings as they are just going to stay. Nothing will change. GB, the only team not playing, but they ended up, they were unfortunate. They lost all their group games, and they're currently the only team out of contention in the women's division. So they'll be looking to see who they'll be playing in their next 2 games.
Indeed. Well, of course, they'll be able to sideline their open team counterparts. You'll be playing on our live stream in the next round against the Belgians themselves. We're going to have the full parent stand. I was on my way to the fields this morning, John. I got to see the catering spread that the Belgians have brought. They were kind of struggling on the doily wheels to bring it across, sort of bumping over the grass, but it's really impressive spread.
Should we be going looking there for snacks and getting a bit more behind that team for future games?
I think they're good friends to make, but that's a true statement regardless of whether or not you're trying to get fed. The Belgian community, just a wonderful affair, as are all these wonderful Ultimate Nations. Nice quick paced movement. This is much better flow from the Czech Republic against this Italian zone. They do have to keep it grooving and moving. But now we get a little bit of a slowdown. That little finger beckoning Jalushka into the cup. And then a little bit of give, go, love.
Yes, I hear you very good. Thanks.
With Rajka. Just looking at the feet, just saying, are you guys far away enough? Little bump, but happy to throw through. The Czechs with 4 players right next to each other. But that is what creates the opportunity to expose that softer side. Charova unhappy with the contact. Caused the proper foul.
I think uncontested call and then potentially a violation, and the wind picking up a little bit now, and that's going to make these very short passes that the Czechs are doing a little bit more tricky. I don't think the longer passes are going to be that much harder, but just a lot of these like half-meter passes they throw very quickly. The wind, if you don't get a little bit of snap on the disc, can cause those to pop out, so hopefully they're aware of that.
Well, that one is a little bit of an ask for Hrtova to claim, but she does in a nice little lead. Point and shoot, and we've got a melt to match from the Italians. So the Czechs will have to change up their style, and Charova coming through to provide the underneath. Now seeking an option, there's a big cut up line, but that's a bigger break around. Unfortunately, it is denied by positioning from Mani, although they're going to have a chat about the contact.
Yeah, Czech player took a second or two just to think before calling, and I usually find when players take a second or two, they're a bit more confident in their calls rather than that initial, oh, definite foul. So again, it was maybe not the greatest throw, but it was a close one, and not sure they're going to be able to agree on this one. Usually if it's like this, it gets solved straight away, or else it might just be a case of one player just decides they aren't sure, so they just retract it, or else. But probably going to end up being contested, and yeah, contested.
So back it goes to Charova on a relatively high stall. Doesn't like to throw the same one twice. We're going to go for a beautiful leader up line, and that is an easy goal to be collected by Stanislavova for the Czech hold. And that is their first clean hold of the game. Obviously, we had a couple of calls in there, but it still counts.
Yeah, a couple of close ones by the Czechs, and again, I think that's the second one up that way in a row. So again, like we said, small bit of a breeze, nothing compared to yesterday. Hopefully it will stay like this. I feel like this is a good amount of wind to play where you don't get away with everything, and we can appreciate a good throw, but it's not like yesterday where some players would seem almost incapable of throwing in these conditions. So hopefully if the wind stays like this, both these teams are going to be able to continue to play. We can see a mix of the different defenses, and still the option of the deep game is available to both these teams. So again, a bit of a slow start by the Czechs, but then they've gotten it together. So again, the Czechs, like we said, good opportunity for them to get a win in a game like this, and for the Italians, no pressure on them. So
when you're
I
cutting
would
between
say that the Czechs, if I was to say who I thought coming in this morning
sometimes
might
there is
have
a
actually
black
been the most
screen
likely to
coming
get
up,
the win, I might have said the
like
Czechs
an
just
instant
because I
of a
feel
second
it's
or whatever.
they've more to kind of prove or show in this game, and if they can keep this one close towards the end, I think just that bit of extra grit to try and get one of these wins might make the difference, because I'm not sure if the Italians are going to feel the same kind of urgency to try and push to get a win near the end.
Okay, explain to me how it's not on our end.
Well, the Italians back out on offense. It's been 2 clean holds so far, and the Czechs taking a leaf out of their book.
Let me see.
Applying a zone, trying to squeeze them on that far sideline. See that quick movement across Festa. Just that easy one-hand grab.
So
Skari puts through, nice flash from Shekova, but unable to make the interruption. Things becoming very compressed now for the Italians on this near side. And they do find their way across. And there goes the jailbreak over the back of the pocket and into the end zone. That is just a smooth cruise for the goal. Chiara Festa.
That was black as well.
Collecting.
And I'm looking at
there was one moment here where they were kind of stuck a little bit on the sideline. I thought if the
out
Czech
signal,
zone
it's the internal one,
could have
right?
surrounded a little bit better, they could have generated more pressure. But once they got that disc off the sideline, no slowing them down. A couple of easy passes, got it moving, and again, once they get it going, it's hard to stop, especially when you're in a zone and you have so many people near the disc. Once you can get that first pass out of it, the other team is really playing catch up to try and get back to you. And especially against teams like the Italians and the Czechs, somewhat they don't really give you as much of a chance to catch up. Some teams play a little bit slower, and you can sometimes get the zone reset. So it's in some ways it's a bit risky when you're doing these zones to put so many players near the disc if you're playing against a team like this. So again, the Czechs will have to be a bit more aware of that if the Italians get that first pass out of the zone, it's going to be very difficult to recover. So
well, at the moment, everything just trading through. Those 2 breaks on the board, though, for the Italians to take it to 3-1 lead. So we will indeed see them come out on offense in the second half to make that difference even more apparent on the scoreboard. So 5-4 presently to the Italians.
I think it might be 5-3. I think we might have a slight error there. I think it's 5-3. I could be wrong though. Or perhaps the
I'd given an extra point there for the Czechs on my little notebook scraps, but
I'll save it for the knockout rounds, and then we can just add one, you know.
Well, thankfully we do have our volunteer scorekeepers keeping everything flush with the information, including tapping on their tablets, so you can see all the results from all of these games as they happen, which of course gives us the updates for the games going on elsewhere. But that one a miss. Very unfortunate for Vashova. It was a little low, but I expect that she's got the chops to catch that 6 out of 7 days a week. Inside find again, the Italians really riding that throw to great effect. Wonder if we'll see some flatter forces as the game continues. Novelli punches it back. Pironi through. Mani. Of course, it's so difficult to defend Martinini up line. It's where she likes to be. The Italians all clustering around now. They find a little bit more separation, but you can see the stack really just hanging out in front of the thrower, making it much more difficult to hit those spaces. They don't clear out quite as well, but that's just going to be a grind towards the front cone, and the goal will come after lots of patience into the hands of Elisa Mani.
Yeah, a couple of clean. I think it was a couple of clean breaks in a row there once they got the chance for the Italians now. So both sides of the disc starting to look like they did yesterday. And again, I can't remember which stream we had them on previously, but we had them on a game where I think the O-line only turned twice in the entire game. So And I didn't see them turn in too many times yesterday either against the French. So Italians just probably I think it's without doubt now the team to beat so far. I don't, like I said, I don't think the significance of the game yesterday would have been any reason for such a big scoring difference between the Italians and the French. So again, Italians, maybe in a couple of seasons ago they weren't as competitive. I remember my first time involved with a streaming. I was behind the camera, and I believe they were on the receiving end of a couple of large losses to perhaps teams like the Czechs or the French. But yeah, looking here like they're the team to beat, and going to be looking to get some upwind breaks here.
So another break. The whistle clean effect of this Italian team. I mean, you've got 3 clean offensive holds, 2 clean breaks, just that one grinder. Well, the Italians started the game out. They didn't get the break. And then that one that took the second ask. The Czechs just looking to try and keep themselves competitive and in this match. That one just sails over the fingertips. A great reach for Drovakova. They spin round to the Italians. Can they put another in the box? They will. Oh, just on the second catch. Great focus from Giulia Cicchetti. So Cicchetti even. That is really fantastic stuff. So 1 point away from taking half now are the Italians.
Yeah, again, another nice clean point for them there, and one more, they take half. And again, the Czechs are going to be looking to try and maybe they might need to take a little time here to refocus, because I know we said the significance of the game, it's not a whole lot's going to change too much, but I did talk about the confidence, and they don't want to be on the end of a big receiving, like the receiving end like France were yesterday, as much as they're trying to work on some stuff. So maybe they might need to take a little time out and figure some things out, because when you're seeing the lines they're putting on, it seems like they're putting on their normal O-lines for the majority of these points. So again, last chance kind of to figure some stuff out, and you don't really want to take this kind of form into potentially a quarter-final against the team you've already beaten, which could also be a dangerous thing as well. It looks like most likely they would end up playing, I think they're going to end up playing Austria, almost regardless of what happens here. And they have beaten them already, but again, if you've had a rough loss, Austria coming into it thinking they have nothing to lose, and the Czechs maybe coming into it feeling that they were a bit hard done by, or not hard done by, but they let themselves down in a game. They don't want to put themselves in a dangerous situation. But I did talk to the coach before the game, and they did say they would probably prefer Austria to Germany, so I do feel the confidence won't be shattered, obviously, by a big loss here. But again, it is juniors, and if you have a bit of a bad start and your confidence isn't super high, anything can happen. But another break chance here for the Italians.
And they're going to make quick work of it. You can see the pounce of that number 73 trying to get this back for the Czechs, but that's a great grab. Layout required, not the prettiest in terms of the offensive coach's mind, but a great grab for Novelli, and that will take half on the break cleanly. 8-3.
Yeah, again, maybe the best thing that could have happened for the Czechs there was now they're forced into taking a little break here and to go over and have a little talk about what they want to come out and do in the second half. And again, for the Italians, they're going to be pretty happy with that. There's not much more you can ask for, especially in a game where it's already decided to, against potentially a medal contending level team, to take 8-3.5 against them in a game where you don't have to win. So Italians showing here why they were able to get the job done so potentially easy against the French yesterday.
Well, and this will be a nice birthday present. We'll get a look at some of the highlights of the first half. Big happy birthday, of course, and we'll give her a shout when she's on the field as well. Agnesia Cecchini, 18 years old today.
That's it now, yeah. I'm sure they celebrate after the tournament correctly for turning 18 anyway.
Of course, hailing from the Emerald Isle originally, I'm sure the proper way to celebrate an 18th probably involves some fun little rituals. But we'll take a break here in the booth. The second half, though, will continue very soon.
Are you ready for the commentators going back?
Yes, they are.
Second half about to get underway in this women's matchup between the Czech Republic and the Italians, who are at a 5-point lead. Really just wonderful scenes. I mean, they're swinging each other around. It's birthday vibes. We've updated our spreadsheet to make sure that we have the correct number now.
That's it now, yeah. That hopefully she appreciates the effort I went through to update my Google Drive there just for or our spreadsheet on the players. Happy birthday to her. We have to say it ourselves.
Indeed, indeed. Happy birthday, Cecchini. But of course, at the moment, the Czech side, they're staying cool. They've got the water pumper. Usually you see it, you know, using to douse orchids, but we've got some real flowers growing in the Czech Republic. Some fantastic players that we already see at the club level. Absolutely delightful. Of course, 3SB and East Block are the best known women's programs coming out of that region.
Yeah, and one of the few countries where all the top players haven't decided to join together to ruin the European women's season. So respect to those two teams for doing it their way and still being competitive. It's not so easy.
Well, and I have seen someone who was probably maybe the one Czech player who did exactly that. Of course, was just looking to try and get experience elsewhere. Christina Tluster in the East Block fan club long sleeve has been wandering around the fields here, providing lots of extra knowledge because she knows exactly what it feels like to play for the Czech Republic at this level. But the Italians starting out the second half on offense, currently that 8-3 lead. Can they make it 9-3? Benzi slices that one through to Ascari now. Has a little thought about sending the deep shot. That one just going to sit on the breeze and hang just out of the way of the defender. And Beatrice Fabri with the goal.
Yeah, she looked off the birthday girl. Outrageous. Birthday girl, maybe a slight jam up the line. But a really nice throw there. That's harder than it looks to weight that throw correctly. With the wind has picked up a little bit now. So again, a nicely executed throw for the score, and kind of throws it in a position where the defender doesn't have much chance there. But again, Italians just looking really good. And again, if their game against France yesterday is anything to go by, it's no surprise that they're kind of having this kind of performance now, even in this game. Because obviously to get on this team, it's not like we're in maybe some nations, the bottom of your roster is not going to be kind of the same capabilities. I imagine here from top to bottom, it's just full of players that are able to play. And if you're looking at how long many of these players are playing, it's multiple years. Of the players who did fill in the forms, the average time playing is like five years basically from the players that said how long they were playing. So,
well, it's a little bit less for the Czech Republic, to be fair. They've got a couple more 2.5, 3-year folks, so I think maybe a little bit of a difference maker at this level. And I'm not sure who nicked Elena Doležalová off of our roster sheet, but I've just popped her back in. Of course, that 73 has been doing serious damage in other games for the Czech team. They haven't pulled her across for many of the O-line points in this particular matchup, just keeping her in that pocket, playing the deep. So 9-3 now for Italy. And that one sails out of bounds, so a brick pull gives the Czechs an opportunity. Jana Jaluska will bring that to the brick mark. One day, John, we'll get someone to bury some treasure underneath that X. But for now, the only treasure can be found in the end zones. Nice swift movement. Babakova pops back to Jaluska. Following the passes really well, and tell you what, the Italian zone front set looking for the first time in the game a little bit flat-footed. Stolova sends that one high. Well collected and then swiftly dished off. Stanislavova. Thinks about it for a long time and eventually finds Chekova. Immediately going to gun up line. Oh, it's a sisterly connection for the goal. Just about, no. Not quite good enough, says Fantini, but other players disagree.
yeah, I don't see any people that aren't Czech with their hands up yet, so hard to imagine it's going to get called a goal, but
well, nearly some sisterly love, but instead it's going to be a love from a teammate, bailing out with the layout. And that is redemption city for the Czechs. She gets the bum out as well. Amelie Vachova, full stretch.
yeah, I was waiting. I was wondering, I think she's saving the flip celebrations maybe for the later ones. But I was about to praise how good this Czech offense looked there in that point and say, look, this is what they're capable of, and then slide overthrow near the end. But again, great athletic play by her to make that layout, catch that, and it just shows a bit of heads-up awareness. Sometimes is all you need, and a bit of athleticism to keep those discs alive. And again, the Czechs needed that one. And again, apart from that one throw, and there was one stage where the stall got a bit high, they show there that they're able to play. It's I know it's like it's a bit of a one-sided game now, and it's kind of unfortunate the way it's a bit like that. But they're very capable of playing. It's more, I think, just the Czechs' problem is just it's hard for them to do that for an entire game, whereas I think other nations just are able to do it a bit more consistently. And I think that's the thing. The Czechs, if you show you can do it, and you can get it at the right times, that's why they're a team that are capable of competing for a medal here. And again, you might say right now it's France and Italy are like, it seems like the most likely final to take place, and you would maybe say Belgium Czechs is maybe the most likely bronze medal game to take place. But again, both those teams, when they're at their best, are definitely capable of beating what I've seen from France when they're not at their best so far. But I haven't seen anything from the Italians yet that really shows me they're not consistent there, that they're capable of having multiple bad points. So I'm not going to say I can see too many teams beating the Italians yet, but turn here making me eat my words.
Oh, yeah, that is a really interesting bit of money for Krzysztofa. Gets the block and then nearly drops the first pass. This would be a big news headline for the hopes of the Czech Republic in this tournament, but a pit call will give us a pause.
I think I need to try and make this curse of the commentator happen more often. Just whenever I'm hoping a team's going to turn, I just have to mention, yeah, they look so good, they never turn.
We have no control, but that one cannot be controlled either. You can see where the intended receiver was, but the throw just a little bit too much edge and hits the deck instead. So recovery defense, just enough for the Italians to put on the pressure. That one low, oh my goodness. Fabulous grab. Now it's Festa, well placed up line.
Happy birthday, we gotta get it in. Oh, she's under this.
Yeah, it's Cecchini, but it's gonna be Pancotti on the goal. Of course, that's Giorgia Pancotti, one of two ultimate siblings hailing from the Bologna program. Big part of the BFD shout side, although she wouldn't have made the journey across to the US Open this year.
No. I was going to say for the birthday girl, she needs to update her number as well. She's got number 17 jersey, so I'm hoping that she has a number 18 jersey as well now. Otherwise, we're going to have words with the leadership of this team and their long-term plan. And maybe she didn't know at the time of ordering the jerseys what date the tournament would fall on. And if it was earlier in the season, she would have been 17 the whole way through. But maybe her teammates are going to have to buy her a number 18 jersey if they go on to win this tournament.
Well, that would be a very cute move, wouldn't it? Just, yep, Cecchini there, just sailing away. Of course, it's not about just trying to squeeze things for birthday bonus stats. Although they don't have a number 18 on the roster sheet, so that jersey would be available.
Yeah, we'll have to ask her there if she's going to update her jersey number. I don't really feel confident shouting at someone. To update your jersey number.
Happy birthday. She's stood in front of our booth at the moment.
Yeah. Number, up one. 17. Yeah, 18 now. Figure we can afford that. Yeah,
yes.
Just to change her jersey number.
Just distracting ourselves, listening audience, by... well, no, it's okay. We're talking to the wonderful, wonderful athletes in front of us. Doc's just saying she's got to add the +1 to that jersey. Maybe we can get some tape on it. I don't know. 7 turns into 8, not too badly.
Yeah, there you go. Anyone who's saying I've got bias towards the Czechs there, now you've got proof that I'm just a fan of the people. And
you are indeed a man of the people. So the Czech women back out on offense. And once again, we see a look at this Italian zone. Of course, it's always adapting and changing. One of the credits to the Italian programs. Shekova dishes back. Vashova. Those two just anchoring the offense. Oh, that is a really shapely forehand to find the soft pocket on the far side. Hammer, that's a little flat, and it just scoops almost under the foot.
Yeah, that could have been nasty if she had slipped there, but glad there was no injuries on that one.
Capello Sends that one too far, and great eyes from Hurtova, snaffling up. You can see the Czech coach on the far sideline saying, I think you should call a timeout so we can have a chat about this. It, of course, is the offensive point for the Czechs to try and notch another in.
He probably just doesn't want to see any more hammers.
Shekova. Oh, that is really nice stuff into the back of the end zone. Amelie Vashova for the goal.
Yeah, it's I think her second one of the game anyway. So again, good to see the energy by them, and a couple of European 3SB connections there. So good to see the players involved in the European season. A lot of young players on those teams, and looking forward to watching both those teams at their upcoming tours. Some of the Czechs in a slightly tough spot. East Block in a bit of a tough spot. A couple of their players on this team here, they've a fun challenge ahead of them at the summer tour, and a lot of these players, I imagine, playing on teams, and busy season for them, like we said, probably for the rest of their lives now, especially if they're out here wearing national team jerseys. It's like, oh, you playing with a team for the club season this year? No, okay, yeah, come play for us. It's usually where you're going. I mean, if you're going to recruit someone to your club, you might as well get someone who wants to play. First of all, is young enough. Second of all, has the talent, and probably has. At least their parents have a couple of euros to throw their way to if they can afford to send them here, and that's probably the hardest thing about getting someone to commit to a proper team for a whole season. So if you're a parent out there, just to tell them get a job soon, because your life savings can be gone in Frisbee if you have an elite athlete in the house.
I did once consider the thought of trying to tot up how much I'd spent playing Ultimate during the course of my prime playing career. I chose not to do the maths on that one. I just decided no, I just would rather not know, because of course it's very expensive to come to championships. It's not, you know, you've got player fees, team fees, let alone, you know, gym subscriptions, equipment to buy, things like that to just get yourself up on this level.
Yeah.
But we're so delighted to have such a thriving coaching communities in both of these nations in front of us represented, because really that is the thing that MasterCard can't buy. It's truly priceless knowledge and experience. Lovely moves up line. Oh, that is just so beautiful. Connectivity. The throw from Ballista finds Briolini with such ease. It's like they're not even trying.
Yeah, that was a really nicely weighted throw around the defender as well, and you can tell that it just sometimes people make throws look easier than they are, and I think that was an example of one of them. So again, just both these games, all the games ongoing now, kind of clearly showing that nothing's going to change for the later brackets of the games. So it's going to be looking like it's the Italians and the French are just going to be waiting and getting to watch the quarters later, which looks like it's going to be Belgium and Germany, who are playing right now. It's 9-4. They're going to be playing again in 2 rounds later, and then it's going to be Austria against the Czech Republic. Austria currently 8-1 down against France, but again, Austria not in a position where the result of that game matters a whole lot too much either. One other game that's going on now is Ukraine and Israel. It's 12. Israel up by 12. So Ukrainians still looking for their first win of the tournament, but I've seen they have a couple of 13-year-olds on the team, so I think maybe they might not get it at this tournament, but I think when you have maybe 6 or 7 more years, so the only team's jersey I brought to the tournament, actually, I have a Ukrainian jersey. The only one I decided, I was like, I can bring a Ukrainian jersey. I didn't want to show bias towards any of the other teams. That's where my Eurostars jersey here, so people know, you know, show my neutrality to.
I was going to say, it's a pretty awesome jersey. Of course, the Eurostars program hasn't risen back since 2019. It was stopped by the pandemic. Of course, that was part of the UFA's program. They put a lot of money towards that, 'cause of course that semi-pro league is largely filled out by men. That one just spins over, and it is going to be claimed by Rubino. Then Simonazzi. Of course, a couple of these surnames will be familiar to those of you that watch the regular club season, both at the women's division and open as well. But Simonazzi, a little bit of air bounce on that backhand, but it just sails out of bounds. Italians playing some solid match defense, a little bit of hanging out. Oh no, it is a zone. Just looked for a minute like everyone had a matchup. Oh no, there you go. Yeah, it's just that the Italians are sagging in the lanes. That's what's confusing me. Getting a better look at it. Trnava. Oh, that is such firepower, energy into the end zone. And again, the Czech find Vachova for another goal.
Yeah, I thought maybe with the hat-trick we were going to get to see the flip celebration again, but I'm sure saving it for later rounds. And yeah, really nice throw upwind again. The wind is there a bit, and sometimes when you just catch it the way she had to catch that before throwing it, she had no kind of power behind it, but really good throw to get there, because it doesn't look that windy, but there's a bit of a breeze there, and those flicks aren't so easy. And that one was thrown on the money, give her receiver lots of time to catch it, and no time for the defenders to catch up. So again, enough of a breeze here that I think if you're the Czechs again, you do want to try and get some break opportunities. So getting 1 or 2 breaks in this game is probably like a priority. If I was the coach, you'd want to just say, hey, look, we got the upwind. Now can we show we can break this team? Because it's one thing to score your offensive points, but if they can show they can get 1 or 2 breaks, it's just, like I said, I think this game is about confidence for the Czechs. So I'm not sure how many breaks they got against the French yesterday. I believe they might have got one. I'm not entirely sure, but they're going to want to get some breaks just to show that they can do it. Because again, I think they're feeling pretty confident about their quarter-final. They're a good team. They've played that team already, but it's a different thing when you're going into a game against a team that you haven't really felt like you've looked close against. And
well, we can tell you actually, the game against the French yesterday for the Czech Republic, they actually went on a 3-0 lead with 2 breaks in a row. Well,
given I was here.
But I mean, I think it's a thing of you felt like there was that, and that's why you're talking about it. So, and then they got the break to try and grind it back. Of course, that was a very low-scoring game yesterday. Talking about the wind conditions that we had repeatedly over the course of this match, much calmer breeze this morning. But yeah, they got that last one to bring it to within 1 of the French, and then they just held and scored a break to finish that one off 9-6 in eventuality. So this Italian team certainly looking the better of the pack this year. Last time that was the French in Padova in 2023 at the Youth European Championships. Of course, it was Worlds last year in Birmingham.
Yeah, slightly too expensive for the Czechs to go to it, so they decided not to. It can be pretty expensive again. The venue over here is, I think it's one of the things that it makes it a little bit more affordable for some of these teams from more over towards, like, not the, we can call it Eastern, but over in the Eastern direction. Whenever I told the Czechs, it's like, oh, Czech Republic's kind of Eastern. You're like, no, we're Central. It's like, okay, you keep telling yourself that, but it is kind of, yeah, I understand, but
it's East if you're a colonial, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's East if you're Irish, so it's like. But one other thing on this one, we said about the Belgian-Germany game potentially being a repeat. Should both these teams progress to semis, this will also be a semi-final matchup. So this is, as much as it's a chance for confidence, it's a chance to get some confidence against a team you might have to play to determine if you're going to get a medal or not. So.
Well, great focus there from Agata Benzi with the second catch, but unfortunately lacking on the throw. Cicchetti unable to bring that one home. And Harova with that little finger beckoning the stack towards her. But it looks like we got a dominator set up, isolation, just going straight up line initially, and then hitting the center pocket. Good job by the defender, because of course it's all about trying to prevent the goal. Make the Czechs throw as many passes as possible. Hurtová puts that one up. Oh, and that's a nice snag. Full stretch with the fingertips. And another point on the board for the Czechs. Is that a break? That's a break.
It might be a break. They did seem a little more excited about that point. I saw some of their O-line players on the sideline, but yeah, nice little end zone setup there. Just they set it up, they were able to execute it, and when you're talking about confidence, I think that's a sign of it. It's like, okay, we got our turnover, we're near the brick mark, we're on a sideline, we'll set up an end zone, we'll play, we'll run it. I thought maybe they missed the chance, maybe 2 passes earlier to score it a little bit easier, but they just take their time and scored, and that's a little confidence boost for them, especially now. Yeah, I think like we said, it was a break. We've almost forgot to to pay attention to the fact that we want to see some breaks. I know I said it on the last one, and then I almost forget straight away. But
yep, confirmed by our wonderful volunteer crew. That is indeed a break score for the Czech Republic. Bakova backing it up off the throw of Natalie Hrtova.
I have a feeling if these teams end up playing again tomorrow, we won't have to be asking ourselves if it's a break. There's going to be more bodies storming the field and flags, and we probably won't be able to hear ourselves talking. So, again, that's what the Czechs would be hoping for anyway. But again, Austria and Germany, capable teams. They've both had some good results. It's just a case of consistency. When you see all these teams at this division at their best, they look like they're capable of causing problems for each other, and it really just is a case of consistency now. And a few years ago, that was never like, it wasn't always the case. Sometimes you just say, well, the bottom 7 players on some rosters might be able to beat the best on some of the weaker nations, but it's not the case now. It's all the teams here are going to have at least a couple of players that are capable of going out there, and if they could play the entire game at full fitness, it'd be a bit of a crazy tournament. But
well, Kristova's pull leaving a little bit to be desired. I mean, a lot to be desired. I thought that went out a little bit further, but a gift for Pancotti to start off this next point. A little collision up line.
if you're going to throw a pull like that, it's better off throwing it now. I've had a few pulls like those in my career, and the worst then is your teammates give out you. And the best response is, well, if I'm so bad at them, why don't you ever get picked to pull? So I very rarely will criticize someone for a pull. If you're the person who's asked to pull, it's because the team thinks you're the best person to do it. So
I often get that responsibility myself, Doc, although the most comedy ever was accidentally pulling, thankfully in a not particularly meaningful match, we had quite a considerable lead, directly into the posterior of one of my teammates, but that one doesn't catch for Giorgia Pancotti. Oh, but the great defense played by Ascari to snag their disc immediately back, and the Italians make quick work of the 12th point on the bounce.
yeah, no second break in a row for the Czechs there, but at least they got the break in the last one. They got the turn here, but the Italians not gonna give them too many more opportunities for breaks in this one. And I'm sure if you're the Italian coaches now, you're gonna want to try and get 1 or 2 breaks here yourself and trying to start your dominance on the game again.
You're just immediately getting the eraser out of the stationary cupboard. Just fantastic eyes up defense. So the Italians 3 points away from putting this one to bed, but the Czech Republic will continue to make sure that this one goes for as many points as possible for them. They'd love to get a couple more breaks in. Haven't seen the Czechs play a zone for a little while.
Yeah, I think a bit of it's just they haven't had as many opportunities either as the Italians have been kind of keeping them out there on the offense a bit more. And again, the coach of the team, obviously he's looking to see, maybe sometimes he might be looking to see what's working, and sometimes they might be looking to try some different things. So maybe they just potentially they're happy with, or they know what they want to do with their zone already, and maybe they feel like, again, if the Czechs are going to progress, this is going to be their game tomorrow again in a semi-final if they're going to keep going. So maybe he saw enough with the zone to think, hey, I see what I need to fix with this, and there's no point going out here and again, this is my coaching brain in mode here. If I knew I had a defense that works against the Italians, I wouldn't be playing it now, because I know some of the players. It's very hard to tell a player not to try your best. So if a player is out there playing in a formation, they're going to be trying hard to do it right. So, and again, obviously, maybe they will be the underdogs if they make it to the semi-finals. So obviously, they want to keep as much as they can for those games, for when it really matters. So.
Well, and updates on our other games after this point. It is all as we would expect based on the previous rounds, though. Stanislavova puts that one through. Nice big reaching gainer, but it's just going to be way too far. A valiant effort. Good cut delivered by Vozova. The Italians a little slow on the start. That one then just comes unstuck. Can see she's trying to hit that inside backhand to Capello, but maybe that inside backhand not as strong as when it's the flick side. Nice active mark, low one, but well handled. Rajka sends it back and receives immediately. Nice switch on the defense from the Italians. That looks extremely well drilled. Vosheva. Oh, that's feisty. It's going to just about make it back in bounds. And that is a layout grab for the goal, that is according to the sideline and also all the players on the pitch by the looks of it. The Italians also happy with it. And that is another break for the Czechs.
Yeah, I really like that throw. I remember when I used to coach juniors, I used to teach the value of being able to throw an outside-in flick and backhand where you can just basically throw it off the field, essentially cancel out any defenders on the field and just get it to come back in. I used to have a drill for that throw. I'd call it the guaranteed score drill, where if you can just throw that, sometimes it doesn't matter what the defense is doing. Some players are only capable of throwing it straight down the line. I'm not sure if we'll see that again, but that throw came back in really well and had a slight wind pushing against it. So very difficult throw and good towing of the line by the Czech player to keep it in bounds. And again, just glimpses of what the Czechs are capable of with throws like that. And again, if you're a Czech fan, you'll be hoping to see a lot more of that potentially if they end up on a stream again tomorrow.
Yeah, just another look at the turnovers that gave this opportunity. And just keeping it in bounds. Great goal for the Czechs. Well, it's all been about the second half for them. A series of trades to open up the second stanza, and then the 2 breaks that they've gotten in the latter stages. Of course, if the Czech Republic were to be able to get a win here, it might mess up the latter stages of their bracket play, because of course it's all about trying to avoid this Italian team in the semi-finals if you can.
Yeah, I think this could have been a very different game had the Czechs won their game yesterday against Belgium. It's a bit of a weird one because I know the coach had told me that maybe they weren't too fussed about the game yesterday, but it potentially could have led to a bit of an unusual situation today where if they had won that game and then they were able to get the win over Italy, although they would have had to kind of demolish Italy based on what the Italians did to the French yesterday, it could have led to a situation where they could have come into this game thinking if they could beat Italy by maybe like 5 points, they potentially could have topped the group. But again, knowing the coach, I'm pretty sure they were aware of the score was going on. I even had 1 or 2 parents of the players ask me what the score was, so because they knew I was watching both games. So again, I think they kind of saw maybe that the Italians were doing something. And
although the important thing isn't really to top the group necessarily. Of course, you do get that slightly softer way in, of course, the 1-4 rather than the 2-3 as your semi-final. But actually the top 2 spots, getting that bye round, going straight into semi-finals and avoiding, at the moment, that looks to be the Italians and the French almost certainly. But it ain't over till it's over, folks. As we see a nice bit of Italian flow. Escardi with the around break on the forehand side. Looking to try and finish it off. Oh, but that one just gets slapped away. The intensity of this Czech defense in the later stages. Hrtova putting in the pain. Sailing across. Oh, look how free Hadova is, although she's still going to have to work for the catch. Swinging around. Good handler defense from the Italians. Vosheva, of course, through that beautiful pass for the previous one. Can't catch her own because it doesn't touch anyone else. So a freebie for the Italians now. Ascari into Benzi. High stall situation, but they have Festa through. Oh, and that's continuation into the end zone and just about hangs on to it. There might be a little bit of whiplash claim after that one.
Yeah, great grab, single-handed catch there. And yeah, Italians, another nice kind of comfortable, somewhat comfortable score for them after they get the turn. And yeah, I think we can. I feel confident enough to say we can lock in the quarters based on the scores in the other games now. It's 99.99% sure that it's going to be Italy going through as the top seeds straight to semis, France waiting in the semis also, and we're going to have Czech Republic versus Austria later, and Belgium versus Germany again.
And of course, we will be featuring one of those two games here on our showcase field. We'll have a little look at the open division though next up. That will be a battle between Great Britain, our first look at their open side, and the Belgians. So we'll have the full fan squad.
Yeah, and then I think if the schedule and the fields don't change, it will be 2 games in a row for the Belgians. I think they will have the Belgium-Germany. If things don't change right now, none of those are confirmed yet, but get ready for some drums and some trumpets on the sideline. I imagine the Belgians are very loud sideline. They brought half the country across the continent, I think, to come here and support the players. So they do have three national teams here. There isn't too many countries that are able to do that, and it's good to see that it happens, obviously, because the parents are invested, and I guess if they're going to come the whole way across the country, might as well make some noise. So they're doing that.
Well, it's also the Italian delegation have brought the 3 teams. I think it's about, especially with the U24 success, of course, vice champions of the world, 2 cycles in a row for their open program, the Red Dogs, that U24 cycle.
And the French are the other ones as well. Just 3 teams here that are in all 3 divisions.
But a rising tide lifts all boats, they say. That one is a great one. No, not rising, but diving. Great hands from Rajka. A little lofty into the breeze. Of course, throwing for negative yards at the moment means throwing against the wind. Just allows them to sit up a little bit. But a pick downfield, and we'll just reposition the furniture. Another pick again. Interesting, so you can rearrange yourselves after the pick stoppage to ensure no further picks happen. Everyone getting a bit caught up. But all agreed, and we will be back in play. Rajka. That one a little low, but well taken by Klekova. Klechkova, sorry. Swift moves now, Stanislavova. Thinks about that up line, but it's a little bit too much of a risk. Big fakes to try and spook Martinini. And it's going to be another grinder to try and get it, but it's just too far for Stanislavova. So the Italians, the full stretch of the field to advance Martinini to get things moving. Perhaps a little bit of tiredness coming into the legs here, certainly for some of the throws, as that one is a bridge too far to be crossed for Mani.
And again, like we said, all these points, they're going to matter a lot. The teams are going to want to be getting these scores. Czechs are going to want to get them for confidence, and from an Italian perspective, you're going to want to be getting them to also a bit for confidence to show that you're in the semis and that you're going to be able to just kind of cruise to the final and hopefully get another confident win against whichever team you end up making there. So both these teams, again, although everything's decided, they're basically just playing now to make sure that they go into the next game as good as they can be.
Nice find. That inside flick from Pironi is so dangerous. A lot of these catches for the Italians with single hands, making us hold our breath just a little. Oh, and just the shape on the movement, just to make sure it goes into the goal. Martinini collects another, and we have our first match point situation.
Yeah, and just because it's Italy and the Czech Republic playing here, as someone who's following maybe the Czechs a little closely myself, there's a very, very good possibility that both these teams will actually be playing later on in the men's division on our stream also. I believe it. There's, for anyone, just for any Czech fans, maybe watching the women's game and wondering how the men are doing, they're in a. They would have to be extremely unlucky to not make it through to the quarterfinals. It would create. The only way it could happen is if there's a situation where Germany win on exactly universe point against Swiss, which is in the next round of games, and if the Czechs were to lose to France by more than 3 points, which I would say that one potentially is very possible. The French look very good. It would, so yeah, I think a very high chance that we're going to have these two teams in the open division playing later. So if you're a fan of either of these two teams and you want to follow any of your sons for any of the parents that might have kids playing out here, there's a good chance that that game looks like it'll be the last game of the day potentially. There's obviously the next round of games, Belgium and GB could impact that. If GB were to win by a large margin, maybe you wouldn't have the Italians on the stream, but I would, if I was a betting man, we don't promote betting at junior tournaments, but if I would say it's very likely that will be the last round of games. So let's see how this one finishes first, though.
Well, first match point opportunity of 7 for the Italians. We're going to get a call over there. Immediately accepted. So the Italians getting their zone back out, squeezing the Czech Republic to that far sideline. And again, it's the hammer. Oh, but it just bops out of the fingers. That's a real shame. It was a nice look, but going with one is not enough for Bushkova. And the Italians looking to try and do it on defense. That would be 2 breaks to win the game after having conceded the 2 against the Czech Republic in the second half. And it's just over the tape, a little gallop with ease for Agata Benzi, and that is game 15-8 for Italy over the Czech Republic.
Yeah, we will see you tomorrow on somewhere Italy. Congratulations to them on making the semi-finals. They're going to have the rest of the day off to support their fellow countrymen and women now. And for the Czechs, it's going to be a case of maybe have a quick look and see if you can. Well, the Austria game is basically ending now, so we're going to have the Czechs v Austria later in essentially what's a quarter-final. But congratulations to Italy on going undefeated in the pool play and taking the top seed, going through semi-finals tomorrow. France are going to be in the other one, and we're going to have Belgium versus Germany as one of our quarterfinals, and Czech Republic versus Austria. So women's pool play concluded. We know how everything shapes up, and all that's left to be decided now is which teams are going to win the quarterfinals so we can get our semi-finals set for tomorrow.
Indeed, and we will be featuring the Belgian women versus the German women on our live stream, so it won't be back-to-back Czech action for you. Sorry if that's your favoured team here, but field to action, of course, we do have the AI video cameras on every single field here in Trnava, so you can make sure you can get your eyeballs on all of the actions. I mean, you could try to have as many devices. I think you need to do multi-screens in multi-screens to get all of the action here from the EYUC 2025. But that was a brilliant effort from the Czech Republic that got those breaks in the second half. But next on our screens, on our showcase field, we'll be having a matchup in the open division. It will be Belgium versus Great Britain. So tune in for that one. For myself, Hannah Penderbury, for John Doherty, we'll see you for the next time.
From a workshop in Bordeaux to ultimate fields worldwide, Force Ultimate creates custom gear with care. Locally made, low impact, built to perform. No outsourcing, no shortcuts, every piece crafted in-house by skilled artisans. Built to withstand every dive and sprint, this gear is as tough as your game. Your sport, your team, your Force. Why choose Force? Exceptional quality, eco-friendly production, and every kit is designed with your team's identity in mind. Force Ultimate, built to perform, made to last. Gear up now at forceultimate.com.